What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and we back with another episode of the Saturday Night Sit Down. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with the New Era Young Lords Deputy Chairman of Connecticut. Ian, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Fred. Glad to be here. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing very, very well, man. Thank you for taking your time to sit down with me. I really, really appreciate it. I know I reached out to you through Instagram, and very, very quick response. So I really appreciate it, and thank you for again just coming down, sitting down with me, man.
Not a problem. My pleasure.
As I like to, give everybody a briefing of the show and stuff when we get started, is just my whole goal is really by sitting down with different men to really help and guide and educate our the younger generation, and giving them some help and pointers and stuff and things like that. I feel that I've seen a lot of things with young men. They don't have positive male role models in their lives or somebody to look up to, and that kind of leads them down the wrong path, as we should say. And hopefully, through having conversations with gentlemen like yourself, we can help educate and really maybe give them somebody to look up to, give an opportunity, maybe some advice or share some life experiences that might touch somebody in a way or help them in their path to becoming a man.
Absolutely.
Just getting started, as I asked everybody, my very, very first question to you is what do you think are some of the main characteristics or qualities that make up a good man and why?
Okay. Some of those qualities is definitely being somebody that sticks to your word, a hard worker, um, loyalty. Um, and there's so many different characteristics, and I think people show those characteristics in different ways, and it molds people differently. But definitely, having strong convictions, um, having goals, and I think we all kind of stray from getting to our goals. We're all a little, we all tend to procrastinate a little bit, but staying true to that path and trying to complete the task that we're trying to finish. And for myself, um, trying to give back. You know, we we all uh, we all grow up differently, and
Yeah.
we all have different situations that make us who we are. And we all have the opportunities to change. And so for me, um, this is what I'm doing in my later years. I'm 50 years old, so for me, this is my chance to be a better man and to be that role model now to a different generation.
And it is true. I think I want to touch on two things that you said there. Like number one, like as you said, a lot of sometimes we all have goals and visions, and we may tend to procrastinate or fly off track. And I feel that a lot of that comes from fear. I think a lot of us may get a little intimidated, or maybe not even have the support that we need or that encouragement. I know, um, like as a good saying, as I always say, is although it's always good to believe in yourself, a little help from others can go a long way. Sometimes we're trying to go do something, and we may feel like we're doing the right thing, and we may even have our own self doubts. It may not be the outside world's our own self doubts, and having people to talk to or encourage us to give us that little nudge is huge. And as you also said too, everybody goes through changes in their life. Just because where we started is not where we're going to end up. There's another quote that I seen that I think is very, very powerful is that, you know, every demon has a future and every saint has a past. So we know as long as we find ourselves and when we look out there and we continue to strive to do better, we'll ultimately get to do that and then live out our dreams and just be there for each other as well so that we can do that and encourage and help boost us up like you're doing now, like you said now in your later years. This is your chance to give back. And that's I mean, I'm not 50 years old yet. I'm not up there and I'm on my way, but like you said, everybody's gone through different things, and I've been through, especially these last couple of years, as I've been telling everybody, I've been through a lot of depression, a lot of heartache, and a lot of things that really have shaken me to my core, and really made me evaluate who I am, what I want to be, and where I want to go in this life. And that's why I started to start doing this journey. I don't want people to suffer the same way that I had to suffer, and knowing those aches and pains to help them better their way, make it a little bit easier and coming into the future and doing that thing. And as you said there, you have a lot of those are some of the important things for you. As for you as well, I know a big thing is people with great morals, and then morals hold a big part in our lives. So for you, what are some of your important morals that you tend to live by that you hold true to?
I just, I mean, one of the biggest ones for me is just like really, you have to be somebody that stands by your word. You know, so many people will tell you one thing and do another. So, and it's not the easiest thing to do.
Hmm.
It's very easy to stray you know, from your word, but it shows a lot of character for somebody that can stand by what they put out there and live it on a daily basis. So, for me, that's one of the biggest things. And like I said, I'm getting better at some of these things as I get older. I wasn't as good at a lot of things when I was a young kid, but those are the things you learn as you grow. So I'm in a better place now.
And that's good to say that. I think a lot of people. I said before, one of my friends, we're sitting down and having a conversation. I was going through some of these clips, and we talked about like ego, and everybody's afraid to either make mistakes or look weak or anything like that. But it's important, like you just said, you've been through a lot, you've made mistakes, and those mistakes help you learn. And it's always great to learn from your mistakes. If you learn from your mistakes, you can't take it as a bad thing or look at it as something negative, because you're going to come out better on the other side. And like us talking to you guys and stuff and things is another way is, as everybody says, it's always good to learn from your mistakes, but it's even better to learn from the mistakes of others. So that way you can avoid that pitfall. You don't have to go through that challenge and, learn from somebody else's mistakes so it's not repeated, and you're already ahead of the game. You know what I mean?
Well, I try to only look at them as mistakes, I guess, if I don't learn from them.
Hmm.
If I learn from them, it's a lesson. If I don't learn from them, then it's a mistake, and you're most likely going to make that same mistake over and over. So,
Right, right. So it's important to learn. And going through this, as I said, it's important for us to understand relationships with our parents, and mainly our father figures. Through my whole life, I've seen a lot of my friends grow up without their fathers, and I understand what that's like and how that helped and hurt them and helped develop them in different ways. Maybe falling down the same path or looking for somebody else to latch onto because they don't have that male role model in their life. So for you, what was your relationship with your dad like?
um, definitely, there's been stages. There's definitely been stages of that relationship. Um, my parents met when my dad was coming out of the military, out of the Marines, in California.
Mm,
Uh, so he's from the East Coast. I mean, he grew up in the East Coast. He's from Puerto Rico. Um, so I was born in California. I want to say I was seven years old. We moved to Connecticut, and my memories as a kid was, before we moved out here, it was a lot of family. My dad's family, my mom's family, just always a lot of things going on. Be it trips to the river or the lake or whatever. So there was always those family functions. Um, but I want to say shortly after we moved to Connecticut, maybe a few years later, my parents split up. So it kind of changed the dynamic of what I was used to. To me, and I think now more than ever, my dad's always been like a superhero. Um, I never quite understood how somebody could be so strong.
mm.
I would look at him at times. I'm like physical strength, mental strength. It's just always amazed me. Um, but I didn't always like him. There was those times that when him and my mother split up, that I just wasn't that I didn't understand why they weren't together. It was the situation. Situations were what they were, and um, he was now living a different life, and it didn't always include. So yeah, I mean, I would get upset, tell myself I didn't want to be like my dad when I grew up, and as I got older, I found myself becoming more and more like him, good and bad. Kind of how our
Wow.
relationship was.
But that's tough. I mean, it's definitely not easy, especially going from that, being so family oriented and having everybody around to having your parents split up. When that did happen, were you living more with your dad or your mom, or how did
Just
that?
my mom.
Your mom?
At that point, it was just my mom. It was the kind of that stereotypical, the promises of coming over and doing stuff. Things happen. Sometimes, there was a disappointment when things didn't happen. So yeah, it was like I said, it created a lot of bitterness. Um, what I wish it would have created was that learning opportunity at a young age.
Mm,
I didn't necessarily learn what I should have learned from that. We tend to fall into those bad cycles, of the environment that we grow up in, and I did the same. As a young adult, um, I have five five kids of my own. Haven't always been the best father. Um, so I'm not saying I've had to make up, but the living arrangements and the situations, for me, parenting has been a lot different. Um, so I've always found myself to try to be very honest with my kids about anything I've ever done or been through. Because like you said before, being able to learn from somebody else's mistakes, um, is a great thing if you can do it. So for me, like that was one of the best things I could share for my kids because I made a lot of mistakes, and I wanted them. I didn't want to. I never wanted to hide anything from them. I wanted to be very truthful and honest, and wanted them to be able to come to me with anything, um, and know that I was going to be honest with them. Um, and so I've seen the ups and downs of my kids from it, but I think, what I'm most proud of my children is, out of my five kids, there's actually, four different moms, and they're all incredible women, and we all have pretty solid relationships. And I think that was probably one of the biggest pluses I took from my dad is him and my mom always maintained a very good relationship, and I've been able to do the same with the mothers of my children, and I definitely give them credit where credit is due. They've done an incredible job. That on top of me trying to keep them from those pitfalls that life throws at you left and right.
mhm.
Um, they've all grown to be incredible, young adults. Um, so I'm very proud of my kids. I sometimes wish I could go back in time and see what they would be like if I didn't make the mistakes I made, as a young man, as a young father. But at the same time, I'm proud of where they're at now, so I guess I can't complain about that.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's great that you said that too. You've made those mistakes, so they don't have to. Because I'm sure those mistakes cause you a lot of pain and sorrow, and we think about those things. Because I know I made a mistake, and like I've been through depression and sadness and for all these things for things that I could have avoided if I would have known better. But I'm glad that I know those things because at a very early age, I'm able to teach my kids that. Like one of my biggest things is I know that through my whole life, I was trying to be a big people pleaser. Try to make everybody happy and putting everybody first. But ultimately, that does cause me a lot of pain because I'm never fulfilling what I want to do in certain cases. So for a very early age, my daughter's just about to turn 6. Um, but one of the number one things that I tell her all the time is, when something happens and she's like, "Oh, I'm sad or I'm upset," and first thing I tell her is, "Baby, you are in control of your emotions. Don't let anybody else control how you feel. Don't depend on anybody else to make you happy, to make you sad, to make you any of those things, because it's your choice. And the moment you let other people control your emotions, they control you. They know how to push buttons, they know how to get what they want out of you and really manipulate you. And I want to avoid that for her. So it's a good thing that I made those mistakes in the past so now that she doesn't have to. As I'm sure, like you said for yourself, that you've made a lot of mistakes now that your kids will never have to go through. And that's thanks to you and you having to go through those battles and then through those horrible times so that they don't have to. Um, but I also want to touch on something that you said too about, like you said, having, 4 different baby mothers and stuff. And, you know, I commend my parents too. I'm one of three from my dad. You know, my sister's the oldest. I got a brother in the middle who has a different mom, and then there's me. But one of the ultimate things that I give my parents so much credit is that the amount of respect that they all had for each other. You know, I've never seen my mom curse out or argue or anything with my brother's mother. It was nothing but respect all the time. You know, we would go to Puerto Rico, we would go to the house, and you know, they weren't the best of friends, but it was respect. You know, she would pick him up, she would have no problem. They would go, we would take my brother out, we'll go for days, or he'll come for us. You know, for my wedding, my mom paid for my brother to come to come be my best man. You know, and she tells everybody these are my sons, these are my kids. There's no trying to break it down like that, because one of the things that my mom has always said, and I've asked her, and that's one great thing that you said with your kids, is always being honest. My mom was always real with me. You know, if I asked her a question, she was straight up. My mom always tells me she don't know how to lie. You know, and it's clear she really doesn't. You know, so when I've asked her a question, I'm like, hey mom, you know, what happened? She's like, listen, what happened with your dad and that woman and all that stuff, it's in the past. It happened. But your brother had nothing to do with that. It's not his fault he was born. It's not his fault he's here. So he should never have to suffer. You know, that's among us that we got to deal with it, and go through that. So he should never have to suffer. So leading on to that, my question for you is like having to do with that and all different moms and stuff. How was the relationship or co-parent with all that? How did you guys go about that, or how did you guys make that better, or how was that overall?
Like I said, I was definitely blessed. Like I said, they're four different but very strong women that have just done an incredible job. Um, like I said, you know, my parents splitting up, I think, and in the absence of that family that I was used to as a little kid, I think I was always looking for another group of people, and it wasn't
Absolutely.
necessarily the family that was right in front of me, which
Hmm.
was the aim of the whole situation. But those women um, are amazing, and they've sat down together. There's times that they've been in the same room and can, you know, um, I can think of at least one time, you know, coming to visit, I know having one of my sons with me and going to visit my two oldest kids and their mom, and you know, my oldest kid's mom saying, "Hey, take the kids with you. We're gonna sit here and hang out." And they just
Mm.
hung out and just chatted and had a good time, and just because I definitely was lucky enough that they understood nothing between us was their fault. You
Right.
know, you see so many people that blame the wrong person for relationships going bad or for infidelity or any of those things where um, it wasn't their fault. And
Hmm.
you know, I try, you know, I don't really have any reason to speak badly about any of them, and I can't say the same for them about me. You know what I'm saying? I've done the things I've done, and I get it. I deserve my lumps, you know, when I get them. Um, but the great thing is I find myself I can still talk to them. You know,
Good.
if
Good.
need be, you know, my kids are grown, so most of my interaction is with my kids. Um, but when there is interaction, it's the same thing. It's still very honest. You know, if they want to give me, you know, some grief about something, I take it. I take my lumps and swallow my pride with that because I made those decisions and I made the situation um, the situations actually you know the way they were. It wasn't them. So um, but like I said, my kids were lucky enough that they understand that they have great moms, and I think my relationship with my kids is kind of that love hate relationship as well. You know, there's the times they hate me for not being there when they wanted me there, not so much when they needed me, but when they, you know, wanted me there because I spent a lot of time back and forth between California and Connecticut.
Mm.
And then they love me because I'm their father. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they know
Right.
that
Right.
they can always pick up the phone, they can always stop by, they can ask me to, you know, come see them, and you know, if I'm not working, if I'm available, whatever, we can sit down and have those honest conversations about whatever's going on in their lives, my life, or just you know what's going on in the times today. So um, I'm lucky. I'm lucky because that doesn't happen. You know, to have multiple, you know, multiple parents and with children, you see where the difficulties with that are abundant.
Mhm.
The name calling, the keeping people away from being able to see their kids, and just all the bad stuff that goes with it. And unfortunately, a lot of it's stereotypical stuff that goes with it too, because they expect a lot of that of us. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
but I have nothing but respect for those women, and they know that. I when I do get the chance to speak to them, I always let them know because like I said, I wasn't the person that I needed to be then. Um, I think now I have a different outlook on life, and I love the fact that my kids can see me doing something important, something that means something, something that's giving back. Um, I've always done a little bit of this here and there, for like the last 20 or so years, but not at this level of commitment.
Mhm.
So for my kids to see what I'm doing now and for them to be where they're at as young adults, um, it seems like the natural thing from their point of view. A lot of people see stuff and go, "Oh man, that person's phony. They're only doing it for this reason. They're only doing it for that reason." Um, they get to see the other side of that. Like I don't. The only thing I get to gain from this is the feeling of giving back.
Mhm.
To the people that we do through the organization, through the Prayer Young Lords, and the family that I've accumulated within this organization. Um, and I hope someday that my kids decide that they want to join and be full-fledged members themselves, and not just legacy of the new era. I hope someday that they all want to be full-fledged members and continue on, side by side, be it whatever chapter, whatever state they're in, and do the same things that I'm doing now.
No, that's important. And them seeing you do all these things and really taking control of your life and seeing you for the person that you are. We may have taken different paths and then things gone awry. I know a lot of my friends and a lot of people too who don't have their fathers in their life like that miss that. They need that interaction, or they always wonder that why me? Because society paints that pretty picture, oh, mom, dad, 3.5 kids, white picket fence, and all that stuff. Like this is the ideal family, what it's supposed to be. Um, but it's not like that for everyone, and not everyone's going to respond to that. A lot of people have looked at my mom and her situation with my brother and stuff like that, and they looked at her all like weird, like, oh, you don't, why, how could you talk to that woman or all that stuff, and trying to like fuel that fire or kind of like create problems, but they didn't let that ever get in between our family. We knew what was going on, and I'm so glad that my parents showed me a different side, because I've seen also too the other side too of that baby mama drama, as they say, or baby dada drama, and parents bashing each other in front of their kids. It was just horrible because I feel like injecting them with so much negativity at a young age and seeing things that it shouldn't be, and that's unnecessary. The problems you guys have between you guys is your problems, and it has nothing to do with the kids. Um, but moving on from that, as like you said too, I mean, like you have your 5 kids. Are they very close together, or how are your kids getting
Yeah,
along? And
they're close. That's another thing. Like I said, I know it seems odd too with the different moms, but yeah, they stay in close touch. They see each other when they can. They're at the ages, oldest early 30s, youngest, early 20s. They're kind of spreading out as they're
right, right,
going their ways in their own paths in adulthood. So, um, but when they are around each other, they make sure they stay visit each other. They make sure they stay in touch. Be it, technology is a beautiful thing now. We can stay in touch like this.
absolutely, yeah,
So they're able to do that. So even when I get to talk to one of them, you know, there's always the conversations. Oh, I was talking to, I was talking to Shanice. I was talking to Juan. I was talking to Armando, Javi, Margarita. They communicate. So that it's funny. It's like a lesson in reverse. They learned about family, how important family is by the lack of family in their household, which
right.
we don't always get as minorities growing up.
Mhm.
Those things that our kids see usually is what keeps us in that cycle. be it abuse. People get in abusive relationships as they grow older. You know, the single parents. I mean, people tend to make those same mistakes and stay in those patterns. But like I said, with the honesty and the fact that their mothers are incredible women, they've been able to break that cycle and understand that they family's different and what family means to them. I also have four grandkids.
Oh,
Uh, Actually, a fifth one on the way. So,
oh,
uh,
congratulations.
and it's like I said, it's just yeah, it's different. Yeah, I wish I would have learned some of these lessons earlier. I missed out on a lot. It's kind of odd to be looked at as a role model by some people and to feel like an outsider sometimes when you look at some of the things your own kids have done. So it's a hard lesson learned, but I take responsibility for my actions. So I mean, this is the life I chose as a young person. So what I make of it now is up to me to be a better person.
No, absolutely. Our lives are what we make of it. And as I said, in some interviews before, we don't have to end up where we started. Like we said through this conversation, we learn, we grow, we develop, and I've learned from my parents' mistakes. I guess one of the big things is finance. I'm sure that's a lot of us in the Latin American community. Our family come in here and really don't understand finances in order to buy that home or leave a legacy for their kids. But I've seen my parents struggle paying the bills. There was times I had to go to work and help my mom pay the bills as well that other people may not have to go through. But I'm glad that I went through those things because it made me responsible, it made me understand how important it was, and made me want to grow and learn so I can teach my kids better. And we all have to come through those things and just learn and grow. So, and we're gonna be, every time we look in the mirror, we're our toughest critic. Nobody out in the world can put us down worse than ourselves because we know our insecurities, we know our flaws, we know the things that we've never told anybody, that we got to live with those demons inside that nobody else knows about, that we can draw upon and really beat ourselves with those things. And as you said about learning different things from commute from family and different things and trying to find that sense of family. As we said at the beginning of this interview, you're now the deputy chairman of the New Era Young Lords. So just for the people who may not know or understand, who are the New Era Young Lords and what do they do?
Well, the New Era Young Lords, we are a nonprofit organization, um, basically a humanitarian group. Um, a little history: the original Young Lords were formed in the late '60s. Um, some people are a little more aware of them now if you got to see the movie that came out at the beginning of the year, Judas and the Black Messiah. Um, there's a portion of the movie where Fred Hampton from the Black Panthers interacts with the Puerto Rican group. That group was the Young Lords.
Mm,
That group became part of the Rainbow Coalition and basically did a lot of similar community activism as the Black Panthers. Um, so us as the New Era Young Lords, basically we are a new era version of the original. We actually are endorsed by the original Chicago founding chapter. We have two members of the original Young Lords on our board of directors.
oh wow.
Um, and it's a big deal. So for us, it's incredible to have those members. And then we have a third member as an advisor to have those elders, share that wisdom and those experiences, just like we do as adults to our kids to
Yeah,
keep us
yeah.
from making those same mistakes. So we focus on community. You know, Obviously the group was originally founded by mostly Puerto Ricans. Um, our group, our chapter is very diverse. Connecticut, our members, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Dominican, Jamaican, Haitian. It's been a very diverse group of people in our chapter. Sexual orientation, religion, political followings. Like we really do not, you know, we want everybody to be themselves, and we
Mhm.
don't judge them, because of that. Um, And one of the common things that we have, like I said, because the group was originally founded by a group of Puerto Ricans, is the self-determination for our people, back in Puerto Rico, as well as the people that are struggling with the same issues that we struggle with.
Mhm.
So for us, our community is diverse. The person next to me might not look like me, might not sound like me, but this is our community, and we have the same struggles. And what we try to do is we try to make sure that if there's any way we can help out, be it with um, a food drive, a clothing drive. Um, we have a back to school, drive coming up. It was supposed to be tomorrow. They got postponed until the 12th of September. Um, Even our boots on the ground, where we'll go into some of the areas where there might be a larger population of homeless people and just hand out meals, be it a hot or even a cold sandwich and some chips. Um, Try to give back to these communities where our local government has failed them, and try to make sure that they know that there's people out here willing and are doing what the best they can to make sure that they have the resources they need to go on day by day.
No, that's a beautiful thing. And it's important, like just like you said, diversity and everybody coming from different backgrounds because I got a lot too. My dad is actually white with green eyes. You know what I mean? So it's so fun because my mom always tell me the story that like when I was born, he went to the nursery to go get me, and they refused to give him to me. You know what I'm saying? Hand me over because it's like, wait a minute, hold on, are you sure? And I think that's a beautiful thing. I'm so blessed that I was able to grow up in that situation because again, and especially like, in Puerto Rico, we all have there's all different shades of colors, blonde hair, blue eyes, white, dark, black, everything, and it's our pride and our love for each other and for our country that bring us together. And I think that's a great thing that your group is doing too, is bringing all those people together and really showing a sense of community, a sense of um, union, because that's one of my big things. Like I say to everybody, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, I love you. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what your past is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a person, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. So it's a very, very beautiful thing what you guys are doing. That's why I reached out to you and I wanted to talk to you to get some more information and know more about you guys because it was my first time really hearing about you guys. So I
Uh,
seen that and I was like, this is I want to talk to somebody to find out more and get educated because especially in these times right now with everything that's going on, we need that sense of unity. People are finding any reason to divide ourselves, mask, no mask, vaccinated, unvaccinated, black, white, Puerto Rican, for any little reason to create a divide when we are so much stronger together. If we could be together, we can no nothing can stop us. So
we're
it's
not
it's,
the
it's
united. We're not the minority.
exactly. That's a very, very good point. So for you, how did you find out about the New Era Young Lords and how did you get involved?
Wow. Um, it was so honestly, I found out about the Young Lords probably about 10, 12 years ago. Me being just the Panthers were such a big deal to me growing up as a kid.
Mhm.
Um, and then stumbling across some information about the Young Lords, they said 10, 12 years ago, and was like, wow, there was a group of people like me. It wasn't. I knew there was Puerto Ricans that were part of the Panthers, but then
Right.
to find out that there was an organization just like the Panthers that was made up predominantly of Puerto Ricans, I was like, whoa. But not being able to find out this information, like
Mm.
that was it. It was his story and not history. I couldn't find anything, and I want to say it was a little over a year ago. I started to see some stuff getting posted, um, and it was by our national chairman, Subi Toro, and I was like, whoa, like okay, this I I know who these people, I know who this group is, but what's going on? And so I started to follow a little bit more, and then I reached out to somebody in New York that I had met at the 50th anniversary for the Young Lords. It was a couple years ago, and I wanted to go and get to hear some of the people from the one of the more prominent chapters, which was the New York chapter. I wanted to hear from the original members, their speech, you know. And I reached out to that gentleman and said, "Hey, what do you know of this new era young?" And he was like, "I mean, they seem pretty righteous. You should, check them out." And I was able at that point, it gets a little fuzzy. I think I was talking to Subi, and he directed me to, at the time, the deputy chairman of Connecticut at the time, which was Carlos, and expressed my interest in wanting to, know more and possibly becoming a member. And almost a year to the date, so I want to say September 12th. It was September 12th was they did a huge book bag event at the People's Church in Harlem, in Spanish Harlem, and I went out there to volunteer. And being around the members that showed up from Connecticut and the members that were there in New York, like at that point, I knew that was it. I
Mm.
was like, this, this is what I've always wanted to do. Like, just to be able to help the community and talk to the people, and kids are looking at you, other adults are like, thank you so much, and you know, the elders were like, you know, thank you for carrying on the torch that we thought had died, and just all this outpour of emotion from the community that it wasn't even my immediate community, but I felt so welcomed. I was like, yeah, I want to take this back to Connecticut, which has been my home for so many years, and give back the same way. And it's been a crazy ride ever since.
No, that's amazing, and I understand that feeling. I love to help people. So much I've always put everybody before me, but I've always felt like I was here for that reason. I was here to help people to try to make a difference. I tell everybody my biggest fear is being forgotten. We all have one life. I want to go through this life. I want to leave an impact some way, somehow, some form to be remembered, to be carried on, and really pass that torch. So I've been trying to, started this podcast is one of those things to do that. But also, as I always say too, I love helping out people for selfish reasons because it also makes me feel so good, that outpour, feeling that thing and seeing that. One of my I guess a real touching story that I thought think of myself now that you mentioned that I was gonna go to I was living in CF at the time, and I was gonna go to a Wendy's. It was late night or whatever. It was kind of drizzly. It was dark. It was cold. And in Stanford, there was only two Wendy's. There was either one in Greenwich and one in Norwalk. And I was like, you know what? Where do I want? And they're about the same distance. I don't know, but something told me to go to the one in Norwalk. So I was like, all right. So I was going to the bridge, and I'm getting ready to turn onto the highway, and I see this lady, walking down, holding a baby in her hands in the rain. And I immediately pulled over. Like I mean, like I just I knew like I had to be there for a reason. You know what I mean? So I pulled over. I'm like, what's going on or whatever. And she was like, my car got a flat, and I don't know how to change the tire, and I'm here with the baby, and I don't know what to do. And it was funny because as I was turning, I seen a cop like leaving that area. And I'm like, so what did the officer say to you? She's like, oh, well, if he told me if I didn't move my car in 24 hours, it was gonna get towed. So I'm like, you see a woman with a baby in the rain, and that's your answer? Um, and even more of these things that again to keep telling me that it was my purpose because she had the exact same car. It was a Toyota Camry. Was like 97 too. It was the exact same car, like different colors. And I asked, I was like, do you know where your spare is? So she's like, I have no idea about this car, you know. So I luckily again, because I knew where it was, I was like, you know what? Just get in my car, go wait. I'll change a tire for you. I got it. So I'm out there in my pajamas in the middle of the rain, changing this lady's tire and stuff. And I sent her on her way, and she was so happy. And I mean, you can just see how the grateful she was. She was assistant. She gave me like some money to buy something. She was like, "It's on me." Um, and I drive off. And the person I was at the time tells me, I actually remember that lady. She had a really bad drug problem, and she was going through this and that or whatever. But she turned her life around, and you know, I was so touched that I was able to help that person. And I know for myself, like she's never gonna forget who I am, and I'm never gonna forget her because she was in a time of me. And I think for everyone, especially for men, I think one of the biggest things that they say is a man will never forget who's there for them when they're down. And they're really grateful and hold that attachment because we're supposed to be seen as super strong, emotionless, machines that just go 24/7. And we're not supposed to have emotion. We're not supposed to break. We're not supposed to be tired. We're not supposed to be any of those things. Um, so we try to put on a facade a lot of the times, when all we need is somebody to reach out and say, hey, how you doing, man? I got your back. And that goes a long, long way. So for you and in this whole organization with the New Era Young Lords and stuff, now it's as you said, you started what, like a year ago or now, as if I'm not mistaken, you.
I my first event with them was September 12th of last year. The organization is a little over a year old in general, and as of right now, um, Connecticut is the first chapter, and there's New York and Florida. We also have Rhode Island, Ohio, Chicago, and starting a chapter in Pennsylvania.
Wow, so definitely spreading out there. I got a lot of family in Ohio.
It's been a lot there. You know what? I actually had the pleasure of going out and getting to meet the members in Ohio for their debut event. Incredible people, and I can honestly say that that's been the biggest thing about meeting all of them. Um, we all find a way to communicate with each other, and that's we hold our meetings, our council meetings, our state meetings, so we all communicate with each other. But it's it's becoming a huge family. Every chapter that opens, the family grows because we have all these members, men and women, you know, some younger, some older, but all with that same common goal, to want to give back and help our communities in all these different ways that are needed so greatly, and it fuels us. I can honestly say that, like, every time I see something from one of the other chapters, um, I get excited. Like it puts a smile on my face as if I was there, right alongside them. So it's been um, a huge part of my life. It's changed. I think it's taken a lot of the selfish part of me away, um, because of these people, and I'm very thankful. From the members I've known from the moment I joined to the members I've just met that just started a new chapter last month. It's it's been amazing.
That's awesome. And then you said your first event was so almost a year coming up, like your first event, September 12th, like you said. So from again trying to find out who the new area youngers were, what they were about, going to your first event to now becoming a deputy chairman. How did that happen? How was that journey take place?
Oh man, it was yeah, like I said, it's been a roller coaster. It the chairman at the time, the deputy chairman at the time, and our national chairman, kind of talked. They both got to meet me the day of the event in, at the People's Church, and we're like, yo, all right, yeah, we definitely want this guy to be somebody in the organization. Our national chairman wanted me to hold this one position. The deputy chairman at that time wanted me to have a different position, and I became his number two.
So they were
I
grooming you
think
from day one.
from day one, I think it was just the perfect fit. It's just one of those things when you meet certain people, and some of them you can just tell right away, like, this is the person I want, helping me side by side, and I was very honored. Like, I was didn't expect it. Was like, um, knew it was going to be a lot of responsibility. Didn't know how much responsibility it was going to be. Like I said, in this year, it's been crazy. Um, Up until I think we're going on a couple months now. We basically split the Connecticut chapter. Um, we needed some help in New York. We split the Connecticut chapter because half of our chapter is in that Greenwich area,
Mhm.
and it was easier for them to go to New York. And our deputy chairman at the time took over the New York chapter, and I stepped up into his position, to assume the responsibilities. It's been crazy, but even the people, guys, we have councils. Each state has each chapter has a council, but even besides the fact that there's that structure, um, there's that respect for every member. Um, Everybody comes from a different background, different education, different work ethic, um, different ideas. So we have that respect for each other that you know we listen to each other. Like I said, it's a family. So there's the times that we bicker, and then there's the times that I love you unconditionally no matter what, but
Right.
sometimes we're closer and sometimes we're not. So it's just been great because everybody, we tried to stress that to be as comfortable with speaking and giving ideas and expressing themselves because it it takes everybody to do what we do. Um, Anytime we try to do something with if I was to try to take on most of the duties of myself, we wouldn't get anything done. It's like I got a I got a full time job. When I started with the organization, I was working two jobs. I was working my full time, my part time, making shirts on the side, and then I jumped into this. So I'm down to one full time job, still making my shirts on the side, and now I'm assumed, the position I have, with the organization now. Um, but it's so much easier now, and that's been the thing.
Yeah, and it will. It's important, like you said, everybody to be themselves. Um, that's one of my things too. Is I've always felt for a long time growing up that it was wrong to be me because I always got a lot picked on. I was either being picked on for the fat kid or for whatever reason. I did a lot of singing, so there would be people would make fun of me for that and all sorts of things. So it really made me kind of clam up and be scared to speak my mind or really be myself. Um, and that's a lot of common things that I've been seeing doing these interviews with people is the same thing everybody's been saying is everybody needs to be themselves. We're all here for a reason, and we only can find out what that reason is if we live and we be true to ourselves and who we are and what we feel. So that's what I do for my kids too. My daughter and my son is two, but with my daughter now she understands that, I try to tell her to be an individual. I try to encourage her in what she likes to do and her feelings and feel that because I don't want her to be afraid or be ashamed of the person that she is, because there's nothing wrong with that. And you can see that too firsthand in your organization is that not one person is going to have the answer. That's the whole point of bringing everybody together and having different views, different opinions and stuff like that, seeing things from different angles. Because as we said, we are stronger as one. We all get together, we share, communicate, and share our ideas. We can find the answer. Somebody amongst that group will have the answer. And just being themselves and being true is so important. So for you now that you're, being in the organization now going on for like a year, what have you learned about life that you can take away so far from being in this organization?
Oh man, definitely. I mean, like I said, missing that family bond as a kid, and now having this new extended family. Um, Definitely, you know, having a strong family bond, having a sense of who you are, where you came from, that education of where you came from, unselfishness. It's it's just so many things. Um, at this stage of my life, it's crazy to have made lifelong friends now that I feel like I've known for so long. Um, and with the organization, always stressing it, especially like me. I always like to say it's a we thing.
Mhm.
It's never a me thing. It's I'm not doing this on my own. None of us are doing it on. This is a we. And like I said, we sometimes we consist of other groups because we do a lot of work with other organizations. We get, a lot of organizations will reach out to us and ask us for assistance, or somebody gives us the contact of somebody that's doing something, and we, meet up and want to do things together. It takes all kinds to do what we're doing, and it's it's gonna take it's gonna continue to take that to get things better for us and this society. Um, Things have changed a lot. I mean, I remember the stories from my parents of how they saw racism from the 60s, and
Mm.
then I know my opinion of like my peak at late 80s, especially that hip hop culture and the racism with the Afrocentric movement and the fight to power, type of attitude. So I know my point of view of racism from that to my kids' point of view on racism, where we're at today with the Black Lives Matter. And pretty much still the same. The unfortunate, I mean, and that's extremely unfortunate. The things that have changed from my point of view of this now is you can't hide it.
Yeah.
It used to be hidden. You only knew about the things that the media wanted to tell you. But now we're all reporters. We all walk around with a camera in our back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So the social injustices that happen on a daily basis get reported on a daily basis and get put out there to the masses. And so I remember my oldest son, you know, now dad, it's not that bad anymore. I don't know, what are you talking about? This was probably about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And we all have that talk with our kids, that talk that we wish we never had to have, but we have.
Oh yeah.
And he was staying with me in California, and I remember him coming home and him just giving me that look. And I looked at him, and he's like, "Yeah, you're right." And I knew something had happened. He didn't have to explain it to me. He gave me that look, and at that point, I knew that he realized that things are different, and the stories that we tell aren't just to sensationalize things, but we put those things out there to help people in their journey. So for us in this organization, that's another thing. We're trying to do programs to help people. We're trying to put together turnaround programs to get people that are coming out of incarceration to get back into society and be successful and be accepted. We want to try to put together programs to teach young kids how to be entrepreneurs and learn how to develop, their own income without being dependent on somebody else at
Mm.
an earlier age. As far as our food programs and other things that we're working on, and it's a lot of work, and it's just none of it's new. I keep going back to the Young Lords did it in the past, the Panthers did it in the past. You know, there's always been somebody trying to do this, but I think with social media and where we are today, we have an opportunity to let people know that there are these groups out there. We have a way of letting people know without them being able to hide it from everybody.
Right, right,
In the past, the media, the government, whatever, could keep all this under wraps and hidden, ban movies, ban certain literature, and you would never find out about this information. Make sure only certain things got taught in school. We are a different day and age where we can force our own our own destiny upon people, through social media and used properly.
right, right.
People abuse it. Definitely for myself and I know the members of our organization, um, we're not about it's not about the likes and the views and rushing to be the first one to post something. It's trying to make sure the stuff that we're putting out is true. It's the stuff that people have been looking for, the information that people are wanting to know about, and educating with that, because that's what's going to make us stronger. Because if you Google certain things, you're not going to find the stuff you're looking for, unfortunately.
Right, right.
So we've been lucky enough, like our national chairman, man, his mental archive is crazy. You know, the stuff that the knowledge that he's attained, and I think that's kind of excited so many of us to want to become members. Um, and then upon starting the organization, he's been given access to archives from the original Young Lords and different chapters, um, be it the original members in Chicago or one of the groups in Pennsylvania, or some of the information from one of the groups, the members in New York, that none of us knew even existed. And every time he sends us a video personally or posts it to our group page, you know, we all kind of like little kids want to go open up and what jewel is he showing us now? And it's crazy. And even if people don't want to become members, um, that information is we're probably going to shed the light on some stuff for you, and maybe answer some questions that you never thought were going to be answered. So,
And it's priceless. We always got to learn from those who came before us. I love sitting down and talking with older people because they've been through things and experiences that I've never known. Um, and it just touched on a few things, like you said. It's like with the whole racism thing. Like for me, it was I didn't understand it at all because again, my mom's black, my dad's white. So I've never really seen the whole separation of color until I went to school. And I started seeing all these other people and people, I draw pictures of my dad or bring them into like, that's your dad. I'm like, yeah, what's the problem? I don't understand. Like, what do you mean? I'm being so oblivious to it. And that's one of the things that I think why I've linked so much because Martin Luther King is my idol growing up. When I've learned about all that and seen all the injustice, it hurt me in a way. Like I was just, people really did that, and really not knowing what that was like. And and it's kind of hidden, and people know how to hide it more as you grow up. And you see these things, and I remember one time I went to this bodega by my house, and I walked in, and the lady behind the counter, she yells to the guy in the back in Spanish. I was like, oh, watch this black kid, he's probably gonna steal something. And I didn't say anything. Like I'm just looking at it like, wow. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I was normally going in for my chips and my drink, same thing every time. But I was like, I'm just gonna walk around and see what happens because it's one of my first times experiencing something like this. And I see the dude like, sweeping the store behind me and going up and down the aisles and stuff. And then I get to the register and I start asking stuff from behind the counter in Spanish. And the lady turns so red, so red. I just left it at that. I was gonna correct and stuff like that or anything, but just like just let you know, like you don't know what you don't know. Don't judge people or anything like that for their cover. Um, and I seen even as I got older, I seen that again, like it was really, really out there. I was working in Old Greenwich, and from day one, man, I was like, I know I'm not, is not the right place for me to work. Just because of what I look like and what that community is. They're in their own little bubble. And I remember one time I was walking through the store or whatever, and I was the general assistant manager for this supermarket. And I'm walking through the store, and this lady was on the phone with her husband on speakerphone. And as I was turning around a corner, her husband was arguing. I guess something happened at work, and he said, I can't believe they gave the job to that damn nigger, and da-da-da. And she just like took it off speaker and was like, and I'm like, it was crazy that it's 20, it was like 2019 at the time. Like we're in 2019 and people are still doing this. And that's the gift and the curse of social media is that now, like Will Smith said, it's not getting worse, it's just getting filmed. You know what I mean? Like it didn't get any better at all. It's just getting filmed now. It's really getting people to show their true colors and what's out there. So it's important, like this group and people like you guys to really create that unity and show. Just because we may not look alike, we may not have the same religious beliefs, sexual orientation, or whatever, we can still get along. We're people. We can love each other. We can help each other out. We can lift each other up and still show and prove everybody wrong. We can make a change. We just got to show the people how to do it. And I think what you guys as the New Young Learners are doing is a beautiful thing, and it's so important that we need more organizations like this. You guys need more exposure and need to be more seen because, as you said, a lot of people they don't want this to be seen because it's going to take away their power. That's giving somebody else a voice, and they don't want that. So I want you guys to go out there and really, really expand and share the love. So if anybody's like interested or listen to this and stuff like that, how would one learn more about you guys, the New Area Learners, or how to get involved or how to become a member? How do they go through that process?
well, the easiest way is each of the chapters has different social media, but easiest way, go on Instagram and literally type in Young Era, New Era Young Lords, and whatever chapter is closest to you, they're all going to pop up there. You're going to see the Connecticut, you're going to see Florida, Rhode Island, Ohio, New York. Pick whichever chapter is closest to you. You'll also see just a New Era Young Lord page. You can click on that. Instant message. That's our national chairman who runs that page. Um, he'll let you know if we've got a chapter in the works, developing for that area. We're also, in some cases, it's not even about membership. Sometimes people just want to volunteer. And that's another thing we're trying to let people know too. I understand not everybody's got the time. to put in the commitment. It is time consuming. Like this is not a couple hour a week hobby. This is every day. I'm in meetings, a few times a week. We're constantly discussing, different ways of fundraising, trying to get a headquarters or what have you. So this is very time consuming. So for somebody that just wants to say, hey, how can I just get back? Hey, if you'd like to be a member, absolutely. We'll put you on an email list, and we'll send you an email when we've got an event coming out. If you can make it, give us a hand, be it passing out food or gathering supplies, whatever. More than welcome to come out and help us. It takes all types and to get everything accomplished on a daily basis. So the, the more the merrier, be it a full commitment or just a part time one. So like I said, go on Instagram, type in New Era Young Lords, pick the chapter closest to you, instant message any one of those chapters. Usually the deputy chairman or whoever else is running that page for that chapter will reach out to you and get you whatever information you need to know, be it about local events, working together, membership or volunteer or being a volunteer.
Yeah, no, I'll attest to that. I mean, I messaged you and almost immediately I got a response, and we were able to set this interview up and really so people who are interested and stuff like that, don't hesitate. You guys seem very, very responsive, and it's a beautiful thing that you guys are going through. I've seen some of the pictures, some of the ventures that you guys did, and it really, really warmed my heart. And that's really again why I wanted to speak with you and find out more information for myself. I love giving back to the community, and now I have a new outlet on how to do that and building a relationship with you guys to be able to do that and find different ways that we can help grow our community. Because ultimately, for me, man, I definitely just remember from a young age and stuff like for myself, I just wanted to build communities to give back, help the homeless, help the needy. I've seen my mom and give to the people in New York and stuff like that who are begging and trying to, just do better for themselves and always understand. She always let me know, that could be us one day. You never know. You know better than nobody else. Life happens to everybody, and just because they're going through a hard time now doesn't mean that they can't get better and doesn't mean that we shouldn't help. So it's very noble what you guys are doing. So I appreciate you guys and everything that you do. And hopefully this gets out there and you guys get some more volunteers, some more members to really continue to grow. So as we're winding down, man, I got just two last questions for you. So ultimately, like I said, we're really trying to educate and trying to give back to the younger generation. So for you and your life experience, everything that you've been through, what has been the best advice you have ever received?
Just never give up. I mean, honestly, it's easy to give up, and anything worth doing is actually worth fighting for. If it's come too easy, it's probably for a reason. You know what I'm saying? If you got to fight for it, you're gonna appreciate it more, and just you got that dream, you got a goal, just keep moving, keep busy, find a way to keep moving forward. You get knocked down, you get back up. I mean, it's just that's life. Don't let it get to you. It's like I said, it's easy to get down on yourself and be like, I can't do this, I'm giving up. It shows a lot more character in a human being, not just a man or a woman, but just a human being to be able to get back up and keep moving forward. Um, just never give up, man.
No, that's deep. A lot of people won't see things as obstacles. I've been listening to a lot of, I guess you want to say like self-help books or really just self-improvement to understand a lot of things. And one of the things that I came across recently that said when you hit a brick wall, it's not a deterrent. It's just to test you on how bad you want it. If you really want it that bad, like Will Smith also said, the greatest things in life are located on the other side of fear, on the other side of that struggle. Once you get there, you can, and that pain helps you appreciate that so much more. Once you finally achieve those goals, or when you know that you didn't give up and you're able to accomplish what you wanted to at the beginning, there's no greater feeling in the world. You just really, really can give it up to yourself and know that I didn't give up, I didn't surrender, and I accomplished what I wanted to do. So it's very, very important. Like you said, never give up. So for you now that you went through experiences and stuff like that and lived your life and still continue to do great things, looking at the younger generation, what would be some advice you would give to them?
there's I mean, honestly, there's something out there for all of us. You know, be yourself. Be comfortable with being yourself. Um, don't let being different stop you from being who you really are. You see that happen too much nowadays. People, it keeps you from being yourself, and it takes you a long time if you ever get the chance to recover from that. Some people find out later in life that this is who I really am. Be yourself now, and learn how to grow into that person. Don't have to find out 20, 30 years later that this is who you really are because you've been hiding behind whatever. If you're Republican and you live with Democrats, be a Republican. If you know what I'm saying. If like one of my daughters, you get your kids that go through the God stage and people make fun of you because everybody in the house listens to this type of music. If you listen to what you want to listen to. If your sexual orientation is different from everybody, be yourself. And that's why I use the Republican thing just because I'm not a Republican, but
No.
but but just be yourself and don't be afraid to do that. Like people want to please other people. I think you said that earlier. It's it's easy to please other people to be accepted. Be yourself. Make them accept you for who you are, and you're gonna be a lot happier with who you
Absolutely, absolutely. It's sad to see a lot of people kind of be afraid and stand back from that because as I said earlier, we're all meant here for a reason. We're not, it's not a cookie cutter approach. Everybody has different uniqueness, different attributes, different abilities, different ways of thinking, and that's okay. It's important to use that as much as you can and express that. And that's one of the other beautiful things about social media nowadays is that with a couple of clicks, you can find a whole group of people who are just like you, and you can dive into that community. You can go in there and get involved. You may not be, next door neighbors. You may be in across the world, but through Zoom and through these meetings stuff like that, you can find a group of people who are like you, who would help you grow and continue to be the person that you want to be. And it's because your current situation, your current environment may not appreciate you or accept you for who you are. That doesn't mean you have to change or to adapt. One of my favorite rappers, Tupac, he said, be that rose that grows from the concrete. You know, do that. Be something beautiful. It doesn't matter. Just be true to yourself, and that's the only way you're truly going to be happy. Because if you're trying to please other people and trying to put other things like that, you will never find happiness, and you'll just lead to. And I speak from experience, a whole lot of depression and a whole lot of anxiety that will terrorize you for a very very long time until you learn to be comfortable with who you are. And when you're finally able to do that, your life will be so much better. So I preach that. I preach that, especially to my daughter. I let her listen to whatever kind of music she wants to do. Will she dance, jump, play, say what she wants to say, and really be herself? And I encourage that because once she gets older, the world is going to try to take that away from her. And I want to know from a young age now to just stay true to who you are. So I appreciate you giving that advice, man. Thank you.
are. No problem, man. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
No, absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much for sitting in here and spending time with me, and really having this conversation. I think you gave a lot of important information. And to everybody out there, as I always say, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, your big brother loves you. Stay blessed, everybody.